we'll see how this goes. Feel free, though, for those of you that haven't been to any of the other classes, as you know, for those of you that have been here, totally casual, just anybody has a thought, a question, just jump right in. We're happy to get input from the rest of the group. For those of you that were on the class yesterday, not a class, but the office meeting yesterday, Mike introduced one of our newest agents who just joined our company, and that's Sarah Rogue. Sarah, raise your hand.
I'm not new anymore.
Not new anymore? She's old news. She's old news. Now, for those of you that listened to that part of the meeting yesterday, Sarah jumped in and said, "Hey, Mike, I want you to know I wrote my first offer yesterday." Now, keep in mind, she's been an experienced agent from New Jersey, came here to California, wrote her very first offer yesterday. She was very modest, though. She didn't go on to say, "Oh, by the way, my very first offer is on a listing of $4 million. If you're going to start high, huh?
It's my sister.
Yeah, just, routine, another $4 million property. But anyway, so.
But we got to get it first, and then I'll buy people.
Exactly. We don't say anything beyond the fact that, but it's a nice place to start when you write your first offer. A lot of newer agents that get into business, their first offer is on a manufactured home in Hemet. So starting with a $4 million offer is a great place to begin. So welcome aboard. Today, for some of you, you're going to say, "Larry, I kind of know this material," or "I've learned this before." And Taylor and I were chatting, and I appreciate him sitting in today. But sometimes the best learning you do is when you learn something you already know, because it refreshes your memory, things you've gotten away from. I've had people come to the class I do on open houses that have done 100 open houses in the past. And they'll leave that class and go, "Oh my God, I picked up some great stuff. I kind of knew that, but I got away from it." So if you only get one little nugget out of this, I hope you'll find that it's worth the time up here. So I appreciate it. Aiden Burgess, another one of our very newest and youngest agents to join our company, comes from a line of people in this business. His uncle, David Close, his mom, Cindy Burgess, his mom even, grandmother, even involved, Pat. So he comes from a line of people that have been in the business. So anything you can do to assist him, if he has a question, feel free to give him your time if you can. Okay, having said all that, we're going to talk about some of the keys to a successful real estate career. I've been in this business for a while. I've been in this business for a very long while. I've seen this business change. It will always be changing. It never stays the same. The tools that you have at your disposal today, technologically speaking, didn't even exist. I mean, I'm dating myself, but it's a little late to worry about that. I remember the first time I saw a fax machine. I thought, how does it do that? And it even smelled like that toner ink, that stuff, the first early fax machine. It was kind of purple and stuff. And the MLS was a big mail book, a big book, looked like a phone book that got delivered to your office every week, and you couldn't wait for the book to arrive. Well, things have changed a lot, but what hasn't changed about our business is it's still a people business. More than anything, you need to connect with people. And the sooner your potential clients, whether it be buyers or sellers, the sooner they get it that your mission is to help them accomplish their real estate related goal, and that your success is nothing more than a byproduct of theirs. As long as they get it that you put their interests before yours every time, you'll develop a client base that will send you referrals and be repeat clients. The longer you're in this business, the easier it gets, because now you're working with people that already know you as compared to people you'll meet out of the box. So just know that that's the nature of this business. It's a people business. We can teach you everything else you need to know, but I can't teach you to be a people person. Good news is I know all of you in this room, and you're all people. Does that make sense? You're all people. Anyway, so having said that, let me give you the handouts for today. Jeff stopped coming to my classes because I don't think he liked doing the handouts for me. No, he said he was,
Do you want me to help you with them?
oh, thank you, I got this. This is how I get my exercise today. Sarah, if you'll pass one down. Save the little paper foldovers, I'll take them back at the end of the class. Tanya, so good seeing you, hon. Rick, always good to see you. Brian.
Thank you.
Fernando and Taylor.
Sir.
Okay. We're going to talk today about, guys, you know what this is. I know all the guys in the room know what this is. Some of you ladies probably do too. Now, Sarah's looking there. She's from New York. She's going, what the heck is that thing?
Is it something to do with fishing?
It's something to do with fishing. What it is, it's a fishing reel, and to be specific, it's a spinning reel as compared to a conventional spool reel. The thing about this is, I use this illustration because I like it, because when people get into real estate or they restart their real estate careers after being out for a while, they have this vision that I'm going to get into real estate. I mean, it's great. Let's see, I get to dress in nice clothes, drive a nice car around, take nice people out, show beautiful, wonderful homes, and make a boatload of money. It's just so easy. By the way, that's the way a lot of your clients will perceive what you do. They'll say, well, you're overpaid. And sometimes you might be on a single transaction that goes smoothly. What they don't know is about all the other transactions that never even closed and you devoted a ton of time and energy to. But this spinning reel, people think this is how their real estate career is going to be. It's a great piece of equipment, properly used. It allows a fisherman to catch fish. And it's got a lot of great uses if a guy or gal knows how to use it. The problem is, the reality of your real estate career is, this is more what it looks like. This is that spinning reel all taken apart, all the pieces. To be an effective real estate salesperson, to be successful in this business, you've got to learn how to combine all the components of your real estate career into one smooth operating platform, your real estate business. If you put one of these things in backwards, leave it out, it renders the whole thing inoperable. It will not function properly. The same thing applies to your real estate career. So what we're going to do over the next 17 classes, scattered over a few months, are going to be talking about the individual components of your real estate career and how you can assemble them into that smooth operating piece of equipment and be successful in this business. Being successful in this business all by itself is a bit of a challenge, because nationwide, statistically, industry-wide, 10 people get their real estate license. One of them will become very successful. 2 more will become moderately successful. And everybody has their own definition of success. There are some people have to say, Tim, I got to make $1 million to be successful. Other people might say, if I made $150,000, that's my definition of success. The problem with this is, 3 of these people are either going to be very successful or moderately successful, but nationwide, 7 out of 10 are gone in real estate after 2 years. That's the statistic. And it's kind of sobering as a new licensee. You go, wow, the odds are kind of stacked against me. 70% are going to be gone. By the way, they don't all leave. Some of them hang around for a lot longer than 2 years, but they don't do any business. So essentially, they are gone. I don't like this pen. I'm going to have to upgrade to one that's a little bit better. So what our mission is to do is to get you into this group. And the nice thing about the program that we've been doing, this agent development program for the last, personally been doing it myself for almost 17 years now. We've reversed the statistics almost. We have a 65%, oh, much better pen, a 65% success rate. 65% of the people who complete this program and employ everything that we teach continue to improve, get better, more successful, and over time become 100% club, platinum club, diamond club. I mean, there's no limit to what you can do in this business if you want to. Problem is, even with everything we do, 35%, almost a third, will not make it in this business, primarily because one of two reasons. Either they're not people. I love that phrase. I'm going to use it all the time. They're not people. But the other reason is real estate is a career that is, your success is totally dependent on you. Totally. You got to be self-motivated. Every day when you wake up, you got to have the attitude, the moment I get out of bed and put both feet on the floor, at this moment, I'm unemployed. I have a choice to make. Am I going to go to work today? You're independent contractors. Yeah, you're here today for a class. You'll go to other things, do things. But for the most part, you're the captain of your ship. You get to decide what you want to do. You can wake up and say, you know what? I'm going to call expired listings today. I'm going to do that from 10 to noon. And then this afternoon, I'm going to go out and door knock. I'm just throwing the ideas out there. The problem is, as an independent contractor, you can also wake up and say, I could call expireds today. I could do some door knocking today, but I think I'll walk the dog and then maybe go to the beach. And that's the problem. Your success is optional, and we're not going to force you to be successful. We will help you. We will guide you. We'll do whatever we can to support you, but it's really all on you. So just know your success, if you succeed in this business, you can take 100% of the credit for your success. If you do not succeed in this business, you get to take 100% of the responsibility for that, because we'll give you every tool that we can to help you become successful in this business. Okay. By the way, I always like to say every one of my classes has a little something in it that's intended to be fun, kind of the fun part. On occasion, I will have to point it out to you because you may not recognize it as the fun part. So in case you missed it, that was the fun part. No, not really. The fun part's coming. Okay. I love that little slide. Here's the fact. Everyone comes into the business with high expectations. Nobody gets into real estate with the idea, yeah, I'm going to become a self-made failure. No, I've never heard anybody say that's why I got into real estate. They got into real estate because they want to be their own boss. They want to set their own schedule. They want to have no limit on how much they can make. And those are all things that apply to our business. I love this business. I loved it when I was a producing agent, and I did very well. The Scripps Ranch, people that know me for a long time, I was the top producing agent in Scripps Ranch for several years in a row. And then I moved to North County, and I went from the most conforming community on the planet, Scripps Ranch, and now I've got 6.5 acres out in the boondocks that have about half the structures on the property are not permitted, certainly not up to code. And, it's a Wild West still, and I kind of like that. So I've adapted well. Okay. The star principle. We want you all to become stars in this business. And a star is, first of all, someone that is in control of their business. In every relationship, in every working relationship you have with your clients, one of you is going to be in control. For you to be successful in this business, it's got to be you. When the client is in control, you can still get the deal done, but it's going to be a rough ride every step of the way. When your client gets it that you're the professional and they defer to your judgment, it makes everything go so much smoother, so much easier. You call up your client and you say, this is what we need to do next. They go, oh, okay. As compared to, okay, now this is what I think we should do next. They're telling you. By the way, you will run into people out there that are control freaks. They're out there. I know. I recognize them right away because I am one. It's like looking in the mirror. and two control freaks, but I have a subtle way of taking control that usually over time I can wear them down and get them to come back to me. Not always. Good news is when the escrow closes, you can either continue to maintain that relationship, and most of the time you will want to maintain that relationship and develop it over time. You will have escrows that you will close. You'll be glad that it closed because you're getting paid and because you'll never have to talk to those people again as long as you live. And that's a decision that you can make. You're not going to connect with every person you meet. Positive control is what we're all about. Negative control is manipulation. We're totally opposed. Nothing that we teach, nothing that we talk about gives any consideration to the idea of negative control. By the way, there are a lot of agents out there that you will run into that's how they operate their business. They use negative control, they manipulate their clients, and that's not what we're interested in doing. And that's not how you develop long-term relationships, repeat clients, and get referrals. The other component of the STAR principle is, A, you got to be in control, but B, you got to be productive. And the purpose of this program that we're doing is, if you're going to be successful in this business, you will be successful regardless of what brokerage you join, because you've got it. But with RE/MAX Connections, we're going to make you more successful sooner because you got so much great support behind you. And that's the mission. If we can help you, if I gave you a choice, do you want to be more successful sooner or less successful later? I know how the answer is going to come out. And so there's no way that if you do everything that we do, everything that we teach, everything that we provide in terms of support, you're going to become more successful sooner. And if so, then we feel like we've accomplished our mission. The STAR principle, the STAR has 5 points on it. Number one, the top of the STAR. And the longer you're in this business, the more you know this. And I'm preaching to the choir to probably pretty much everybody in this room. The top point on this STAR is listings. Listings are the name of the game. Bottom line. Now, as a newer licensee, you're more likely to work with buyers. That's the reality. My first 2 years in real estate, I had one listing, and it was a for sale by owner that beat me up every step of the way before I finally got it listed. I take it back, I had two. I represented a buyer that had a house they needed to sell. Later on, I had about 50-50 mix of sellers and buyers. And at the latter part of my producing real estate career, I worked exclusively with sellers, and I had a buyer's agent that took all my buyer leads because I was too busy dealing with my sellers and my listings. But listings are the name of the game for a number of reasons. First of all, you always have a contract with a seller. You won't always have a contract with a buyer. You can, buyer representation agreement, and we'll talk about that in a future class. Listings are the name of the game because if Taylor has 6 listings and he decides he's going to take 2 weeks off and devote himself to renovating the house that he bought and not take any calls, say, I'm on vacation or gone to Indonesia or whatever, he can still do business because all the rest of us out there are going to be showing his inventory, maybe writing offers. He'll come back from his trip and find out he's got 2 new open escrows. Buyers, not the same. If you have buyers that you're working with and you leave and go to Indonesia for 2 weeks, you might as well have died. Because if you're not there, you're not there. And buyers do things that will make you unhappy. If you've been in the business long enough, you've got your own stories. I've got mine. I went on vacation, had a buyer that I was working with. I'd been working with them for weeks, looked at tons of property. They said, we're going to take a week off too, so no problem, Larry, you just go. Came back, called them up. Hey, I'm back, let's get out there, let's start looking at some more properties. Oh, Larry, the most wonderful thing happened while you were gone. We were driving around, we're going to the store, and we went by an open house. And we went into that open house, and it was just what we were looking for. And we told that listing agent that you were our agent. We were going to wait for you to come back. And that nice listing agent said, don't worry about that. He's on vacation. Let him enjoy his time. I can help you out. Larry, aren't you so happy and excited for me? Try saying this while you're biting your tongue. I am really, really happy for you. That's what I did. And I said, I didn't burn the bridge. I didn't say, how could you possibly have done that? I was tempted, but I didn't. And I just said, you know what, I really am happy. That was my mission. If you got the house you're looking for, I'm thrilled and I'm happy for you. Later on, they learned how it really worked out. 3 years later, they went to list that house. They called me. They listed that house and bought another house through me. So always take the high road, maintain the relationship, even when things don't work out. So, listings are the name of the game. So obviously, sales, working with buyers. Nice thing about working with buyers is there's an intangible benefit. Yeah, you get paid, but when you represent a seller at close of escrow, you give them a check. When you represent a buyer at the close of escrow, you give them keys to a new home. And that intangible benefit is, you can't really quantify the value of that. It's exciting to see a buyer's excitement getting the keys to, particularly first-time buyers, although they're harder to work with oftentimes, but there's nothing more exciting than representing a buyer and handing them the keys to their new home. Objection handling, we did a class on objection handling. Many of you were in that class. Learning how to handle objections is a critical component to becoming a star in real estate. Objection handling, for those of you who are here, you're not trying to get people to do things they don't want to do. That's not what objection handling is all about. Objection handling is helping your clients really do what they want to do. But because of the stress involved, the anxiety, they put artificial roadblocks in their path. Your ability to help them get over those artificial roadblocks will help them accomplish their goal and consequently your success. And you'll have a client that will, I've had clients say that right to other people right in my presence, you know, we almost didn't buy this house. If it weren't for Larry helping us through this, he got us through some stuff that we were about ready to walk away and give up. If it weren't for him, we never would have bought this property. And those people send me referrals. They've been repeat clients. Objection handling is only helping your clients do what they really want to do and help them get out of their own way. Attitude is critical in this business. You got to, no matter what, you've always got to present a positive attitude. You know, the old half-empty glass and the half-full glass and stuff like that. My wife is the most, for those of you that have met her, she's the most positive, upbeat person you'll ever want to meet. With her, the glass is not half empty or half full. With her, the glass is always full, period. She's always looking at the silver lining. She's always looking at the bright side. She's tempered me. I'm kind of the pessimist. I like to say I was a realist, but she refers to me as a pessimist sometimes. But for you to be successful in this business, you've got to always take the positive attitude. Negativity will not contribute to your success. And the last component here is time management. And for people in this business as independent contractors, the next class we're doing in 2 weeks in Scripps Ranch, we dedicate to attitude and time management because it is critical that you use your time in ways that have a return on the investment of that time. It's too easy to get distracted. It's too easy to go, well, I could go ahead and I could call for sale by owners today, but the title rep invited me to go to lunch. So I think I'll do that. Using your time effectively is critical to your success if you want to be in that group of people that becomes very successful in this business. Okay, we're big on acronyms in this program, and we use the acronym STAR. The S in STAR stands for skill. There are certain skills that you will develop, and I'm going to go ahead and use the whiteboard to illustrate this because, and we will be done on time. I am condensing a 3-hour class into an hour and a half, so that's why I'm speaking real fast, and I may not share all of my personal stories that most people find entertaining, primarily because they always make me look foolish, because I had zero training as a new licensee. Didn't have a clue. Broker gave me the key to the office, said, there's your desk, see ya, I'm playing golf. And I learned everything the hard way. The only benefit of learning the hard way, you never forget. But the skill that you're going to learn, first of all, you need to become I'll use this up here so I can want to erase it again. You need to become competent. You need to be competent. The second component of skill is confidence. By the way, I'll do this over here, skill. And the last component is it becomes natural. It becomes natural. It's impossible to be confident without first becoming competent. If you become competent, you know what you're doing, it automatically gives you confidence. And by the way, confidence is a wonderful thing for your clients to perceive when they're working with you. If they get it that you're competent and you're confident, you're halfway there already. And then ultimately, over time, it becomes natural. And the agents that I've worked with under this program have said to me many times, hey, Larry, you know, when I ask you a question and everything else, it seems like you've got the answer almost immediately, and it just seems like it's so natural. Well, it is, because I've been doing it for a long time, and most of the questions I get asked, I've been asked before, by clients or by agents. So ultimately, over time, if you become skillful, you'll first become competent, then you'll develop confidence, and lastly, it'll just become natural. In fact, when you're never worried about what a client's going to ask you when you get to this level, because you're comfortable with it. Sure, they're going to have questions, they're going to have issues, anxiety, no problem. The T in our acronym stands for technique. And technique sounds like a tricky word, but it really isn't. It's basically based on two components: dialogues, which we're going to give you a lot of, dialogues and delivery. Dialogues and delivery. You'll be asked questions, you'll be in situations where the basic dialogue will go something like this, to show you how dialogue and delivery works. Larry, you know, we're thinking, yeah, we want to list our property with you, but the first question we got to ask you is, will you consider cutting your commission? Nobody ever asks that, right, Emily? Never. Never. Okay. Larry, will you consider cutting your commission? Here's delivery. No. Effective, definitely, but it's a door slammer. It's an ending of it. Same thing. Larry, will you consider cutting your commission? No. And then I explain why. But you'll develop, you know, this is not rocket science, what we do. Most of what you do, you will do repeatedly over time. And you'll develop, be yourself, always be yourself. But you'll develop your own dialogues and your own way of delivery. By the way, when I have sellers, those of you that have been to my class on commission negotiations, when I have a seller ask me, and I had a lady ask me this question the moment she wouldn't even let me in the house. She opened the door and said, okay, Larry, I know you're here to talk to us about listing our house, but before I let you in, I need to know, will you consider cutting your commission? If I'd have said, sure, I'm dead. I'm under the bus. Okay, she's going to beat me up the rest of the way. I could have said, no, door slam, end of conversation. So my particular style is, well, it depends. Well, it depends on what? Let's take a few moments and sit down. Let me explain how that works. Now I'm in the house. Now I'm sitting down. I'm establishing some relationship, some rapport, and then I'll talk about how commissions can be negotiated. And we do a separate class on that, so I won't burn any more daylight here on that. The A in our acronym stands for one of the most critical components, and that's attitude. We've talked about that already. Attitude is just, you got to be yourself, but you got to always be positive and upbeat. And we dedicate, the next class we're doing is basically on time management and how you manage your attitude. Because things will happen to you in this business that will make you very unhappy. You'll go on a listing presentation and think you did a great job and find out they listed with somebody else. The people that fail in this business have that happen to them, and they spend the next 2 weeks walking around like this. God, I did such a good job. How could they list with that other agent? Oh, woe is me. The people that succeed in this business, same situation. God, they went with that other agent. What could I have done better? What could I have done different? Yeah, this didn't work out, but if it makes you stronger next time, the experience was worth it. So the people that succeed in this business, don't let things like that beat them up. It makes them stronger. The people that fail in this business, it beats them up and they can't get over it. Because this business will give you lots of opportunities to learn how to cope with disappointment. And also there'll be some thrilling moments that you'll just remember your whole career. And R stands for results. And results in real estate are measured basically 3 ways. The first one is bona fide appointments. Almost running out of whiteboard here. Appointments, listings, and sales. This is how you measure results in real estate. You can't get any sales or any listings without first going on appointments. The high priority activity in real estate has always been the same, and that's face-to-face meetings with people that are interested in buying and selling. Every other form of prospecting, every form of prospecting that you do has only one goal, and that's to get face-to-face. If you're cold calling, if you're mailing, whatever you're doing in the way of prospecting, the goal is to get face-to-face with that client. So that's the high priority activity. That's why I'm such a big fan of open houses. Open houses, the minute they walk in the door, you're already at the high priority activity. You're face-to-face. Door knocking, you're face-to-face. Door knocking, by the way, people say, oh, I'm never going to do that. I can tell you, we've got agents in this company, they live to go door knocking. And they do very well with it because they've developed the dialogue, the delivery, the competence, the confidence to do it well. And they're face-to-face with people right away. And the minute they open their door, they go, oh, you're a realtor. And 10 minutes later, they're talking to you like you're their best friend. So I'm a big fan of both open houses. I already gave you this technique, attitude, and results. So we want to make you a star in real estate. We want to help you become stars in real estate. And that's what this program is all about. In most markets, I've been doing this for a long time. I'm going to give you a handout. I love this handout. Take this, put it aside. It may not have a lot of application today, but it will over time. In raging sellers markets, there are companies that come out of the woodwork. Some of them have been around a while. The ones that everybody knows for sure is Help You Sell, Assist to Sell. In a real good seller's market, they make inroads into our business. Thank you. The good news is when it goes the other way, so do they. So do they. I love this handout. You should keep this. Anytime you go on a listing presentation and a seller says to you, yeah, you know, Larry, we're interested, you know, RE/MAX is great, you guys are super and everything else, you do a great job. But here's the situation. We're thinking of working with Help You Sell, Assist to Sell. Early in my real estate career, in a raging seller's market, there was a company called 4 Points Realty. And they did very well. And what they did was they charged up 1 point on the listing side, and they put it in the MLS at 3 points to the buyer's agent because the standard commission for the majority of my career actively working with buyers and sellers was 6%, 50-50. That was the rate. Over time, now the standard norm is 5, 2.5, and 2.5. But anyway, these cut rate brokerages will come out, particularly during a raging seller's market. I love this article because it's the Help You Sell founder. Listed his home up in Mission Viejo. Don Taylor, founder of the do-it-yourself real estate franchise, Help You Sell, is selling his $1 million mansion in Mission Viejo. By the way, this is a long time ago, by the way, several $1 million today. But he isn't selling it himself. He's hired a full-service real estate agent. This article is great because this guy made all of his money creating a company called Help You Sell. But when he sold his own house, he didn't use Help You Sell. He used a full-service real estate broker because he knew he would get a better price in a shorter period of time with least complications, and that's what he did. I've gone on listing appointments with newer agents for their first couple listing appointments and had a seller say, you know, yeah, we really like you guys. We know you're really good, but we're thinking about going with Help You Sell and save some money. I just take this out. I literally say, why would you? Can I show you something? I just put this in front of them. They read it and they go, whoa, really? By the way, there's another thing that we're going to talk about in another class going forward. A guy by the name of Robert Bruss, who is a real estate attorney. He's a real estate broker. But when he lists his own homes, he doesn't do it himself. He always works with a knowledgeable, local, professional agent or broker. Because he put in, quote, Robert Bruss, he says, yeah, I'm a real estate broker and I'm a real estate attorney. I have two handicaps selling my own property. And that's the handicaps. I'm handicapped because I'm a real estate broker, and I'm also handicapped because I'm a real estate attorney. And when I first heard that, I went, well, those aren't handicaps, those are advantages. They're not. Imagine yourself a buyer, buying from a for sale by owner who is a real estate broker and a real estate attorney. How comfortable are you going to be being unrepresented in a transaction with that individual? That's why this guy, with all of his credentials, he always lists with a local, knowledgeable, professional real estate broker. So hang on to this little handout. It will have application going forward. Okay, class number 1. Here we are. We're only 30 minutes into the very first class, and I'm going to give you the formula for success. And you're going to say, well, gee, I don't need to come to any more of the classes because Larry's going to give me the formula right here and now, so this is all good. Number 1, I like this little quote. The question is not whether the formula for success will work, but rather whether the person will work the formula. And that's true. The formula does work. The first part of the 3-part formula is begin every week working to bring in a saleable listing. That doesn't mean that you work until you get a listing, but you do those activities that over time will ultimately generate saleable listings. Typically a farming campaign, a geographical farming campaign, a sphere of influence campaign, mailing stuff out, doing things, door knocking, cold calling, whatever. You may not get a listing right away, but each week you want to dedicate some time to work to bring in a saleable listing. The second component is, this is my biggest problem when I was a newer agent, learning how to separate lookers from buyers. I always thought it would be perfect. In a perfect world, every looker would have to walk around with a piece of red yarn tied around their finger. And every real buyer would have a piece of green yarn tied around their finger. And you would say, hey, all you folks with the red yarn, love y'all, move over there against the wall. Don't worry, I'm not going to forget about you. I'm going to stay in touch with you until your red yarn changes color and becomes green. But right now, I got to spend my time working with the green yarn people, the real buyers. My first year in real estate, anybody that called me and said, Larry, we want to look at property, I was, let's go. Where do you want to go? What do you want to look at? How much? You know, yeah, I'm ready to go. I took a lot of lookers and showed them property and spent a lot of time and lost a couple of real buyers because I was spending my time with lookers. We're going to give you some very effective ways to learn how to separate lookers from buyers. Stay in touch with the lookers, but focus your time and energy on the people that are ready to buy because they will. And if you neglect them, they'll move on without you. And lastly, and we're big fans of this, and that is show and sell in-house inventory first. The way, our Zoom listing program that we have, everybody knows we've got in-house listings. Brian just relisted a house down in Tierra Santa for $1,175,000. He already posted it on Agent Hub. It's not going active in the MLS. There's zero inventory in Tierra Santa. But he's given everybody in the company the opportunity, I'll get you in there first. Would he rather work with Sarah or anybody in this room, all of you? Would he rather work with all of you guys as compared to somebody he doesn't know? Of course, because we've got this great network of great agents and great support. And that's the beauty of, if I have a choice of working with one of you on a transaction with an agent at another company, and there are some of those companies that we know, oh my God, EXP, okay, I'm going to have my hands full with this deal. There are a lot of other brokerages out there, but show and sell in-house inventory first. In some markets, you don't have that option. There's no inventory. But always consider our in-house inventory first. It'll make for a smoother transaction. And if you're up against another agent at another property on the same listing and everything else being equal, you know who the listing agent and the seller are going to pick because it just makes sense. So that's the formula for success in this business. Show and sell in-house inventory first. By the way, if a person took 50 listings in a normal market, works better on this side. In a normal market, a year ago, 18 months ago, every listing you took, almost every listing you took, was money in the bank. Every listing was selling, overpriced, multiple offers, open escrow 2 days after taking the listing. In a normal balanced market, and most of what we teach in this program is based on the concept of a normal balanced market. And I love a normal balanced market. I like it when buyers and sellers are equally out there. It just makes everything go smoother. But if a person took 50 listings over time, regardless of how much time we're talking about, on average in a normal balanced market, 35 of those listings would sell. And the reason they didn't sell, most of us know, is because they were overpriced and the seller wasn't willing to make a proper adjustment. But you'll also get 7 to 8 what we call buyer conversions. Buyer conversion. And buyer conversion is a concept that I've dealt with countless times. And it typically begins when I'm doing an open house. And the buyer comes in and says, yeah, it's a really nice house and everything else. Not quite what we're looking for, but can you show us some other properties? Well, sure, what's your situation right now? Oh, well, we own a home. Oh, you own a home? Yeah, where's that located? Mira Mesa, I'm making up a house over in Mira Mesa. Oh, so you're out looking at open houses today? Are you in a position to, if you found the dream house today, are you ready to make an offer on it? Well, no, we still have to sell the other house first. But we want to go out and look around at other properties first, make sure we find that dream house. And then when we find the dream house we want to buy, then we're going to list the house that we need to sell in order to buy the one we want to buy. That does not work. For those of you who've been around a while, that does not work. 2 reasons it doesn't work. To get the seller of the house that they want to buy to accept their offer contingent on the sale of their property that's not even on the market for sale, they got to pay full price and then some and get them to accept a contingent offer. And then in order not to lose that house, because they're going to attach a 72-hour clause to it and they're going to continue to market it for another offer. And if they get one, they're going to go back to your client and say, you've got 72 hours to remove the contingency for the sale of your home and prove that you can close without selling that home, or you got to get out of the way and we're going with the second offer. So in order to get it to sell quickly so they don't lose that house, they got to down price their home. They got to market it at a price that will get it to sell really quickly. So they're going to pay too much for the one they want to buy, and they're not going to get full market value for the one that they want to sell. It's going to cost them a lot of money. So buyer conversion is a great concept, but you're going to get, if you had 50 listings over time, you're going to run into 7 or 8 of these people, and then you're going to get another 7 to 8 either sign call transactions, advertising, marketing, transactions. So over time, if you took 50 listings, only 35 would sell, but you'd still wind up with 50 transactions because listings generate buyers and interest. We all know that. And the only thing good about double ending your own transaction, your own property, when you're the listing agent and you personally represent the buyer, pure dual agency, it's a wonderful transaction when it closes. It's a rough ride in between because both parties think you're working harder for the other. Who are you working for? You working for me or the seller? Well, right now I'm working for you with the buyer, but when I go meet with the seller later on, I'm working with the seller. It's a tough transaction. I've done it countless times, but it is a tougher deal, that's for sure. Okay. Let's talk about the links in your chain. By the way, it's an old cliche, but a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. There are links in your real estate chain. Some of these links are obvious. Number one, awareness. There's basic awarenesses that you have to have in this business. One of the awarenesses I've already shared with you, and it's probably the number one awareness, and that is listings are the name of the game. That is an awareness that you will come to understand and you will embrace it. Listings are the name of the game. Everybody gets into real estate, they work with buyers and everything else, they're doing fine and everything else, but you ask 90% of the buyer's agents out there, how do you see your career going forward? They say, well, I want to become a listing agent. I want to become a listing agent. There are very few, there are some that say, no, I only want to work with buyers. I never want to work with sellers. That's their choice. But there are basic awarenesses that you're going to learn in this business. We're going to talk about this in more detail in a few minutes. Goal setting and having goals is critical to your success in real estate. I can't overstate the value of having a bona fide set of goals for your real estate career. Commitment. Goals without commitment are a waste of time. I've seen people say, I got all these goals, but they make no commitment to making it happen, and consequently, it won't. The fourth link is attitude. I'll give you these two together, attitude and time management. We're going to get into these, we're going to dive into this in the next class in a couple of weeks. How to manage your attitude in an effective way and how to manage your time that will give you a return on that investment of your time. Here's the golden link. This is the golden link in the chain. Prospecting. Prospecting is the golden link in the chain because everything you do, I've talked to agents that say, I'm not really doing a whole lot. I haven't got a lot going on and everything else. I've got some people that I'm showing property to, but I think they're more lookers than buyers, and I'm working on some advertising and stuff like that. Oh, what are you doing prospecting-wise? Oh, I'm going to do some prospecting as soon as I find time. I laugh. I'm going to do prospecting when I get around to it. No, that's not the way it works. Prospecting time needs to be on your weekly planner. The successful agents that are in the top level of production in any real estate brokerage, no matter how busy they are, they have a certain block of time every single week that they're shutting the door, turning off the phone, doing whatever and they're dedicating that time to prospecting. Because no matter how busy you are right now, those deals will all close and now you're starting all over again. No matter how busy you get, you need to dedicate time to prospecting. And that's why I refer to it as the golden link in this chain. Appointments. You prospect to get appointments, face-to-face, bona fide appointments with people that are interested in buying or selling. Listings and sales, I'll give you those two together. Obviously, those are critical components in your real estate chain. Prospecting leads to appointments. Appointments will hopefully lead to listings and lead to sales. Objection handling, critical link. And we've talked about that already. I'm not going to spend a whole lot more time on that. We do a whole class on objection handling. It's a very effective class, and it will definitely make you more successful, and you will be much more successful in helping your clients accomplish their goals. And last, get by giving. Get by giving. It's a concept. You get what you give. I've had people call me and say, I had a seller call. I love this story. I'll do it very quickly. Had a seller call me one time and say, Larry, we want you to come over and get our house on the market for sale. And it was a property in the promontory where I lived. And I went over there and they said, yeah, we want to go ahead and list our house. Excuse me, they wanted to buy a house in the promontory. They had a 2-story house they wanted to sell. And when I went over there, I said, well, folks, you've only lived here a couple of years and you loved the house when you bought it. Why do you want to sell it? And they said, we want to sell it because we don't like the kitchen.
They don't like the what?
The kitchen. Kitchen's horrible. Just not working. We've always loved everything about the neighborhood. We love the neighbors, but we hate the kitchen. And so we're going to list this house and sell it and buy another house with a nice kitchen. I couldn't help myself. I said, folks, just a wild idea. Have you ever considered doing a kitchen remodel? And they said, well, Larry, I thought you were in the business of selling houses. That's how I get paid. But my business is helping my clients solve their real estate related problem. If nothing else, if it were me, I'd get a couple contractors out, see what it's going to cost. If you love the neighborhood, you love the neighbors, you love everything else about the house, why not give it a thought? They went, okay. And they did. And they found a contractor. And they remodeled the kitchen. And they loved it. And they thanked me. And they sent me referrals on a regular basis. They said, Larry's the best. Talked himself out of a listing. And look what we wound up with. Rick.
Well, I have a contractor that I work with, and a lot of my business comes from him because I refer all the jobs that I have to him. And then when people call him and say, hey, we got your name from so-and-so, we want to remodel our kitchen or do this or do that, because we're thinking about selling. Oh, you're thinking about selling? Well, you got to call Rick. And so that you can get it on the other side too. That contractor has
Yep.
sent me, I don't know how many leads. Or like one of his neighbors was selling, and he just told the guy, you have no choice, you have to use Rick. And I just walked in there, and they just did the deal because they had a relationship, and he trusted him. So building a relationship with a contractor you trust can go both ways.
Couldn't have said that any better, Rick. That's exactly right. And that's the way it works. The vendors that you refer to people, always make sure you're dealing with quality people you're referring, because you're going to be evaluated by the performance of the vendor. And if you refer a great contractor and they love them, they're going to love you even more. By the way, these same people love this kitchen. Called me 3 years later. Larry, need to come over, need to sell the house. I went, God, can't be the kitchen. So I went over and I said, what's up? And they said, husband couldn't make it up and down the stairs anymore. It was a 2-story house. They wanted to sell the 2-story house and buy a 1-story property in the promontory where I lived. I listed the house, sold it. They bought a unit through me in the promontory. The buyers, I didn't represent the buyers of the house I had to sell. The buyers told me through their agent, the reason we picked this house, we love the kitchen. So what goes around comes around. Be in it for the long run. Okay, get by giving. Some of the basic awarenesses that we talked about. Number one, I've already given it to you. Listings are the name of the game. Don't lose sight of that. Here's an attitude you must have to be successful in this business. If anybody can, I can. If you have this attitude, I don't know that I can do this, you probably can't. I had the benefit of working for a large oil company, and I got moved 7 times in 8 years before I got into residential real estate. And they made it very easy. They bought the house from me for 105% of the appraised value, cashed me out, moved me at no cost. They did everything for me. And I'd fly to the new town where I was moving, and a real estate agent would meet me there that was contracted with the company, corporate relocation. They would show me property. We'd go out and buy a property. Everything was great. When I got into residential real estate, the company that I was working for, the oil company, made one big mistake. They moved me to San Diego, California. And then 11 months later wanted me to move to Houston, Texas. My wife said, I'd already been to Houston one time for a year. That was where corporate headquarters were. She goes, I'm not going back to Houston, You go, you're going alone, Can't we stay here? And I said, you know what? Probably can. all the time we worked with all those different realtors, they all did a great job. But I can do what they did. I watched it 7 different times. I mean, it's not that complicated. I learned a lot over time that it's a little more complicated than I thought. I had that fishing reel in mind and, oh, it's easy, but it's not. But anyway, I had the attitude, I can do that. You've got to have that attitude to succeed in this business. If anybody can do this, I can do it. And if you believe it, you can. I like nobody slaps me around anymore. You got to be the one that's in control. And that's why it's so critical to early in the relationship with buyers and sellers, you got to take control. And I've worked with buyers that I've taken out and shown property to one time. And on the way back to the office, I'm thinking to myself, I can't wait to get back to the office. I can't wait to get these people out of my car. And I can't wait to never see them again as long as I live. I give nicknames to my clients, which is probably not a good habit for you. I'm not encouraging you to do that. But I refer to these people as the whiners. Their names were Walt and Wanda, and I called them the whiners because they whined. They could not agree on anything. Every property we looked at, he liked it, she hated it, or the other way around. I could see this was going to be a nightmare, and I was already doing a pretty good business at the time. So rather than work with the whiners, I explained to them that I was just a little bit too busy to give them the time that they deserved. They needed the services of a dedicated agent, so I referred them to another agent who paid me a referral fee and dealt with the whiners. And at the end of the transaction, that agent told me it was not worth it. It was not worth it. I said, yeah, I kind of made that decision on my own. You don't need to write this last one down all in detail for those of you that are, because it's pretty verbose, but I'll give you the gist of it. I'll read it out loud. Oh, no, I take it back. Number 4, just classic. Going on listing presentations. Go with this attitude when you go on a listing presentation. I'm not going to go over and see if I can get the listing. I'm going to go over and see if I want it. And if I do, then I'll take the listing. When clients get it, that you're not there trying to convince them to list with you. And that's part of the safe island technique that we talked about. I set that tone early on. I get it. I want them to get the idea that I'm not here to see if I can convince you to list your house. I'm here to see if it makes sense for us to work together to get your property sold. And if it does, we will. And if it doesn't, we won't. When people get that that is your attitude about it, it makes them want to work with you even more. It really does. I've had clients say, Larry, I feel like we brought you over here to interview you. We feel like you're interviewing us. And I tell them right out, I am. It is. This is a mutual interview because we need to see if it makes sense for us to work together. And by the way, people want to work with you even more. This is the one that I saved for last, and you don't need to write it all down, but just get the gist of it. And that is, I'm not judged by the times I fail. I'm judged by the number of times I succeed. And the number of times I succeed is in direct relation to the number of times I fail and keep trying. And that is a mantra that you want to keep in the back of your mind because you will fail. When I say fail, you'll go on a listing presentation, I've already said this, and you won't get the listing. You can beat yourself up or you can say, you know what? I could have done things better. I think I made a couple of mistakes. I always joke that there's 3 listing presentations that you make when you go on one listing. There's the one that you made when you prepared to go on the listing presentation. There's the one that you make while you're there with the clients. And then there's the one you make in the car on the way home afterwards. I should have said, I should have done this. Good news is, if you benefited from it that way, you may not have gotten that listing, but you'll be more likely to get the next one. Emily.
It's not about how many times you fall down, it's about how many times you get up.
Amen. That's paraphrasing. You could just put that down instead of all this dialogue. But that's really what it comes down to. We all know about the 80-20 rule in real estate. Well, actually, there's a couple of 80-20 rules in real estate. But the one we're going to talk about right now is the 80-20 rule that says 20% of the agents out there get 80% of the money. Hardly seems fair unless you're in the 20% group making 80% of the revenue. Then it seems entirely fair. think it's a great concept. What you want to do is you want to, if you're in the 80% group sharing the remaining 20% of the revenue, you want to work your way over to that other group. And that's a lot of what we do in this program is talk about how to help you do just that. A lot of it is attitude, a lot of it is time management, a lot of it is becoming competent and confident and natural in your business. But being in the group that that's 20% of the group making 80% of the revenue, everybody likes the idea when they're in the 20% group. I have to check my glasses. Here's the point that's going to be a great segue for me to talk to you about one of the most critical parts of being successful in this business. And that is, of 100 people born in 1958, makes them how old now? You use your calculator? No.
No, it's just a little too close to home.
Oh, see, I have to go backwards to do that, though, so you're in a better position. Of the 100 people born in 1958, they're now 65 years old. Here's a sobering statistic. One person becomes very wealthy. Very wealthy. Another 4 become, I'm going to abbreviate, financially independent. Now, to me, kind of a blurry line between financially independent and very wealthy. I mean, I know Warren Buffett's in this group. I know Warren Buffett's in this group because he gives money to Bill Gates. When you think about it. I mean, Bill Gates doesn't need the money. Of course, he gives it to Bill Gates and they use it in their foundation to do wonderful things. But Warren's definitely in this group. So are some other notable characters that we hear about on the news a lot. Financially independent, I like the sound of that. I'm okay with that. Another 5 out of 100 still work. They still work. Some of them are still working because they like it. There's a gentleman that is working at the supermarket where I shop on a regular basis who is, when I was a kid, my first job was a box boy. I used to bag groceries and put it, and we'd take it out to the people's cars and stuff like that. This gentleman is not doing this because he's getting a lot of satisfaction out of this job, I know. He's doing it because he has a financial need to do it. If you're still working, Warren Buffett's still working, he's in his 80s. He's not doing it because he needs the money. He does it because he loves the challenge of it. Here's a sobering number. 36 of these people are in what category?
Retired?
You wish. Well, you can call it retired. They're dead. That makes them retired for sure. That's the ultimate definition of retirement. I don't make these numbers up, I just quote them. 54%, well, 54 out of 100, which would make it 54% anyway, 54% are dead broke. When I say dead broke, they're living on Social Security, disability, basic, limited, structured, they have no money to do anything other than barely get by. Always debate which of these two categories you want to be in. Yeah, if you're in this category here, you could still win the lottery, and then you could move over here to this category. But what are the odds of that? But knowing that you need to, and the point of all this is, I want you to remember this number right here. 1, very wealthy, and 4, financially independent. Because this black pen works really good, but it's hard to erase. We're going to come back to that number there. Because we're going to talk about the importance and how critical it is to set goals. A goal without a plan is just a wish, and that's true. By the way, each of you needs to have a bona fide business plan. Have goals and have a business plan which will help you accomplish those goals. Otherwise, a goal without a plan is just a wish. Why do you set goals? Goals energize you. I can remember having a goal of wanting, particularly when I was much younger, I wanted to buy a certain car. I wanted that car really bad. I worked overtime. I did all kinds of side jobs and everything else because I wanted to get that car. Having a goal energizes you. Reinforce and reward yourself when you accomplish your goal. We help you do that by recognizing you for your accomplishments. But reinforce and reward yourself for your goals. How? People always say, well, what should be my goals? I would say, what do you dream about? I've had people say, wow, when you put it that way, you know what? I really would love to own my home free and clear, pay off my mortgage. That's a legitimate goal. Having goals are critical to your success. There are certain components that you must have. It can't just be a goal. Here's a goal that has no value. I want to be successful in this business. That's ambiguous. It doesn't work. We're going to talk about what does work. USC, University of Southern California, did a study of the 4 types of people. Here's the 20% group. Here's the 13% group. The 62% group. And here's the 5% group. And what they did was USC tracked these folks and they illustrated how they handled what they did in terms of goal setting. The 20% of the people had no goals. They were just straight line. I'm working from week to week, month to month, no real goal, just want to make it to the next paycheck. Okay. The next group, 13%, these people had no goals. These people had high goals. But in this illustration, this is how they tracked their path through life. What they did was they had these goals, they worked toward the goal. As soon as they ran into an obstacle, it turned them around. It was downhill from there on, and they were done. It was over. Any goal worth having is going to have obstacles. It's going to have roadblocks. You got to be able to overcome those. What surprised me is 62% had no goals. None. Had no goals. And in this illustration that they did, they tracked their path through life like this. Just wandering around, no real goal, just. The interesting thing in this study is 5% had high goals, but they tracked their path through life like this. They ran into a goal, they ran into an obstacle, they focused, how can I be better next time? They re-energized, refocused, and continued to work to their goal. The interesting thing about this is the correlation, the matching between this study, 5% of the people out of 100 set high goals, worked toward their goal. When they ran into an obstacle, they just got re-energized, refocused, and continued to work toward their goal. It matches exactly that combined group of 5 people, one that was very wealthy and the other that were 4 were financially independent. That's no accident that those numbers are in such a perfect alignment with each other. That's how critical goal setting is to your success in this business. But have this in mind, because in this business, you're going to run into this. You're going to run into roadblocks. You need to be able to get re-energized, refocused, and get back at it again. Okay.
What is the squiggly line? I didn't quite understand that one.
Pardon me?
The squiggly line?
They have no goals.
Wandering.
They're just wandering around, you know, job to job, whatever, no real goals, you know. And sadly, I thought that was amazing that 62% of the people out there have absolutely no real goals in mind. So it's critical that you do, and of course everybody in this group does, I'm sure.
So is it the 20% had no goals too, so is that combined of like 82% had no goals?
I'm sorry?
The 20%, did you say they had no goals as well?
These people had no goals, and they just went straight line, like this. These folks over here, oh, excuse me, I said no goals, and I misspoke. Problem with my vision is I have so many pairs of glasses I have to change into to see what I'm doing. These people didn't have no goals, they had low goals. They had low goals. Low goals versus no goals. Good catch, Ton. Thank you. Okay. So talking about this, that correlation is no accident. Having a goal is great. Here's some things you've got to have if you're going to have a goal. Number one, it's got to be specific. There are 10 components to having a bona fide goal. It's got to be specific, you know. I mean, you can say I want to do 10 transactions. You can say I want to make 150,000. It can't be I want to be successful. That's ambiguous. And everybody's going to have their own goal. It's got to be a challenge. Yeah, you know, I could have a goal today. My goal today is to eat one of those bagels. That's slam dunk. I can do that with no problem. Now, if I made myself a goal to eat the entire box of bagels, that would be a challenge because I can only eat so many bagels in one day. But it's got to be a challenge. It's got to be attainable. You know, you could say, you know what, I want to do, I'm brand new, I just got my license, I haven't started yet in this business, but I want to be the top agent in the company by the end of the year. I would honestly say that's not attainable unless you have some kind of special niche that rarely exists. It's got to be written down. It's got to be visualized. It's got to be something that you can see happening. It's got to be measurable. I want to do 10 transactions. Okay, when? I want to do 10 transactions, time specific. I want to do 10 transactions over the next 12 months. Now that's measurable and time specific. It's got to be something you want. The best way to motivate yourself is to have a goal that you want. The best way to be demotivated is for someone else to give you a goal. For Mike to come in the room and say, okay, Pega, your goal for this year is to do 10 transactions and go down the list and assign goals to people. That does not work. For goals to be effective, they've got to be your goals. And so we'll never give you a goal. You've got to come up with your own. It's got to be compatible with other things in your life. And here's the part where everybody stumbles. It's got to be translated into activity. I've seen a lot of people that are really good at 1 through 9. But if you don't translate it into activity, if you don't get out there and start doing things, it's not going to happen. Walt has put together, if I can find it here, I know I can find it here, I know I have it here. Here it is. We're not going to go through this now. I'm just going to give this to you to take with you when you go. But he's taken this goal setting a little step further and given you a more expanded description of how this works. You feeling any better?
all the air in this room.
Would you ask Emily?
Yeah, I will.
Is it cold or hot? See, I'm not cold because I'm moving around and. So you can take these with you and read them at your leisure, but it basically takes this concept and expands on it somewhat.
Oh, that's nice.
Goals without commitment, we've already talked about this. Goals without commitment are a waste of time. You've got to be committed to make this work. Commitment, the definition of commitment is, first of all, to pledge to do something. If you're going to make a commitment, you first must pledge to do it. I am committed to doing 12 transactions in the next 12 months, whatever it is. You must perform to make it happen. She said she could fix that for us?
We fixed it, yeah.
Great. Thank you. I apologize. I'm the last one to ask if it's cold in here or not, because I'll never complain.
The last one, but
Yeah. My office, people joke, they come into my office, they say, Larry, you could hang meat in here. You know, I'm going, I know, I love it. It's great, isn't it?
What was number 10?
Pardon?
What was number 10 under goals?
Oh, number 10, you got to go back. You've got to perform to make it happen. You got to translate it into activity. Sorry, Peg, I sent you on a mission to help us all out, and then I went off without you. My apologies. But yeah, number 10 is it needs to be translated into activity. A lot of people are great at 1 through 9, but if they don't take the next step and translate it into activity, then you're back to a goal just being nothing more than a wish. Commitment, the definition of commitment is to pledge to do something. The second component is to perform to do it. And the third one is to entrust. And this is a hard part for a lot of people. You need to be able to entrust to the concept that if I consistently do the right things the right way, over time, it will translate into success. Because I've had people say, well, I can't cold call. Why not? Well, I tried it once. Well, really, how long did you do that? I made 10 calls. No, cold calling doesn't work. I'm not surprised. You make 10 calls, statistically, you're not going to get them. You can make 2 more and get 2 good leads out of it, though. Have this attitude. You must entrust that if I consistently do the right things, over time, it will convert to my success. It will work. I love this quote by Floyd Wickman. Successful people don't necessarily do more than they say they'll do. They just never do less. And by the way, if you tell somebody, a buyer or a seller, all the things you're going to do to represent them, if you told a seller, here's 22 things I'm going to do to market your home, and you only do 15, and the house sells, it's not a problem. But if you give them a list of 22 things you're going to do, and you do 21, and the house does not sell, they're back blaming you again because you didn't do everything you said you were going to do. So don't commit to doing anything you're not prepared to do, and whatever you commit to do it all. You don't need to do less. The second quote, okay, until one is committed, there's hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness. It's more cerebral, I guess, than Floyd's, but I like successful people don't necessarily do more than they say they'll do. They'll just never do less. Okay, talking about mutual commitment. From the agent, from you guys, the company, we only expect 2 things from you. Number 1, give it your best effort. If you don't succeed in real estate, how crummy are you going to feel walking away saying, yeah, I didn't do really well in real estate, but I didn't really give it a full shot? Come on. At least if it's not going to work, don't let it be because you didn't give it your best effort. The second thing that the program calls for, I modify. The program calls for blind faith, but I changed this years ago to an open mind. The reason why I deleted blind faith is I'm not going to ask anything of anybody that I'm not willing to give myself. And I don't give blind faith. But I will ask that you keep an open mind. As we get into prospecting in the week after next, you're going to say, that's not something I can do. Until you try it, you can't make that comment. You can't make that decision. Keep an open mind to everything we say. We're not saying we're going to give you a dozen different ways that you could do your business, but you're independent contractors. You're going to find the way you want to work. Our mission is not to tell you how to do it. This is what you have to do. We're just going to show you the different ways you can do your business. You find the way you want to work, be yourself. You'll be a lot more successful and you'll enjoy it a lot more doing it the way you want to do. But keep an open mind. From the office, we're going to remove any obstacles and provide positive support consistently. We're going to do a lot, the training programs that we do, the coaching that we're going to do, Walt's risk reduction, the things that Mike has done for the agents, for the company. We're going to remove any obstacles and provide positive support. From me, you're going to get 110% from me. For those of you that have worked with me under this agent development program, you know that it's very rare that when you call me, you don't hear back from me right away. I mean, I get calls at 10 o'clock at night. I got calls on New Year's Day, New Year's Eve. I mean, I'm there for you. If you don't reach me right away, always leave a message. I always assume that any call that I get that doesn't leave a message was a pocket dial, and they didn't mean to call me in the first place. So even if it's brief, Larry, I need to talk to you. Can you call me back? Brian's great. He just texts me. Larry, call me when you can. I do. That's the way it works. And I'm always going to try to be available to you whenever you need help from me. I have a joke that I normally tell her, but it's a bit of a story, and it might make me run long, and I'm not going to get into it, but maybe for another time. I like this. Wisdom is knowing the right path to take. Integrity is taking it. That's a great quote. I like it. Wisdom is knowing the right path to take. Integrity is taking it. And that's what separates the people that succeed from those that don't. I'm going to pass out two things to you, some great quotes. I love these. Some I love more than others. I'll give this to, he's in with us.
I'm not sure who said this, but I read one time this quote that said, integrity is what you do when no one is watching.
I like that too. Well, thank you. You make that so easy for me, Tom. Well, number 2, only an open mind can grow. I ask that you keep an open mind. Only an open mind can grow. I like the one down here. Your ship will not come in unless you have first sent one out. Everybody's always waiting for their ship to come in. There's a quote that's not on this one. It's on a future handout that I'm going to give you. But it's one of my favorites, so I'm going to share it with you right now. You'll hear it again next time. Henry Ford was quoted, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. So you've got to have a positive attitude in this business. This business is demanding of a positive attitude probably more than almost anything I can think of. Oh, the other handout, and this is a great final note. And this is the decision that everybody that gets into this business needs to make. I love this. Well, the first one is okay. If you're depressed, you're living in the past. If you're anxious, you're living in the future. And if you're at peace, you're living in the present. But the one I like, the one I really want to hand out to you, in real estate, one of the hardest decisions you'll ever face is choosing whether to walk away or try harder. And there are people in this room that work very hard in this business and achieve minimal success and were faced with this decision. And they refocused, re-energized, rededicated themselves to the task, found a different way to do things, and then became very successful in this business. But we all have that choice. You know, when you run into a problem, yeah, I can always quit, or I can try harder. And the people that take that attitude are destined for success in this business. How are we doing time-wise? Well, I went 4 minutes long. And I did go really fast on some of this stuff. But like I say, I normally take 3 hours. When you make a commitment, do it for the duration. Tell everyone out there, and I've already given you the quotes, but I'll go back to this again. Tell everyone that you come in contact with. I always love it. When people get a real estate license, they tell people, yeah, I'm starting to get my real estate license. I'm getting into real estate. They tell everybody. And then when they get licensed, they become a stealth agent. They stop telling anybody. You should wear a RE/MAX badge everywhere you go. Everybody, a lady that came through my class who had never done anything. She'd been never done anything. She did everything. She was a dedicated housewife and raised 4 children. And they all were off on their own. And she got a real estate license probably when she was in her late 40s. Got into the business, and I told her, I said, everybody that you meet needs to know you're in real estate. She called me and she said, Larry, can you go with me on a listing presentation tomorrow night? And I said, well, sure, but I'm kind of curious. How did you get this listing appointment? She said, well, I've been going to the same dry cleaners for about 20 years now. And once I got my license and started going to your classes, I went through my closet and I picked out all my clothes that I would describe as professional attire. Basically things I had not worn for 20 years, you know, because I've been taking care of the kids. So I gathered them all up, I took them into the dry cleaners and I put them down. And my dry cleaner, who knew me pretty well, he looked at all this stuff and he said, hey Rose, what's all this stuff? And she goes, well, I got my real estate license. I just went to work for RE/MAX. You know, I'm kind of new in the business, but yeah, I'm in real estate now, and this I need to get my. He goes, really? You know, my wife and I are thinking about downsizing. We've got a big house. We don't need it. We've talked about it for a long time. Can you come over and give us an idea what our home is worth? We went on that listing presentation. She got the listing, and it sold. And they bought another house, a condominium through her. She got 2 transactions out of it by taking her clothes to the dry cleaners. But most importantly, she told them she was in the business. Don't be a stealth agent. We've got agents that have been in the line at the bank with their RE/MAX badge on and strike up a conversation with somebody and get a transaction out of it. Everybody you know needs to know what you do. So having said that, I apologize I went a few minutes long and I talked as fast as I possibly could. And I did skip a few of my favorite stories, but I'll share those with you one-on-one later. Rick.
Do you think there's any chance that the RV and the Scripps ones might be Zoomed also, have a camera in the back and Zoom them, or are they trying to get people to get out of the house and get to a gang meeting?
We're going to do both, Rick. That's a great question. We're going to combine a mix of Zoom and in-person. The reason we want to do some more in-person training is it's just the energy that it creates when you get, if you're doing a Zoom class, sure, people will post a question. Tanya, thanks for coming, hon. Drive carefully. You get a group of people together, they feed off of each other, they share their experiences and everything else. A lot of the problems that any of you will run into in this business, your contemporaries, your fellow work agents have run into the same problem before. That's why we're going to do group coaching sessions too on different topics. The idea being we're going to throw a topic out there and somebody's going to say, yeah, here's something I want to talk about. This is a problem I've been having. And kind of like the roundtables we did in RB there. You get the input from a group of other agents. Yeah, you know, I had that same problem. Couldn't get these people to make a decision. And then they shared their experience. We all benefit from the experience of the folks that we work with, particularly with a class group of people like we have at RE/MAX. So getting advice, getting experiences from other agents benefits us all.
Well,
So,
I understand the reasoning behind doing an in-person class. I just wondered if, in conjunction with doing the in-person class, if those could be Zoomed also.
well, they're not going to be Zoom, but we recorded this class, for example.
Oh, that's right, never mind. Okay.
In fact, I
Okay.
probably should turn it off because I might have said something. I want to thank you all for coming today. You've been a great group, and can't wait to see you all again. Big round of yeah! Great job, guys.